हिरण्यवाहदे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः। ॐ नमो हिरण्यवाहदे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः। ॐ नमो हिरण्यवाहदे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः। ईशानः सर्वविद्यानाम् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपति ब्रह्मणोऽधिपति ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। ईशानः सर्वविद्यानाम् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपति ब्रह्मणोऽधिपति ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। ईशानः सर्वविद्यानाम् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपति ब्रह्मणोऽधिपति ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। पुरुषाय विद्महे वाग्विशुद्धाय धीमहि तन्नः शिवः प्रचोदयात्। महादेवाय विद्महे रुद्रमूर्तये धीमहि तन्नः शिवः प्रचोदयात्। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति.
All right, y'all. All right, hello, good evening. Hold on a second. Okay, y'all. I hope I ain't scaring nobody this evening. You know, I'm not wearing any makeup, so, you know, hope I ain't scaring nobody. I decided to get my butt on camera for this one. How y'all doing this evening? Hello, Queen Monet. Hello, good evening, or Moan, Queen Moan. Is that what it is? How you doing? All right, so I'm back as promised to talk about generational hexes and the elders, some of your elders out there. These are people that are supposed to be looking out for your best interests, and they're supposed to be ushering in the new for the new generation. The problem with the elders is that if you got a man, and let's say this man has been in and out of jail for his whole life. He's either been gang banging, selling dope, you know, led a very led a bad life. Why do you think that that elder is going to want to see other things that are better happening for the other youths in his family? Okay, now that's not to say that you know those, you know, that's not to say that every elder is bad. That's not to say that, but what I've noticed is the competitive nature. Hopefully y'all got y'all wine out. I know I got my wine. I'm drinking Pino Norte, Pino Norte or something like that. Noir, Nor, whatever it is. What we have is a lot of elders who feel a jealousy and a competition for the people that are underneath them, which is stupid, because when you think about it, when you're an elder, the younger generation is going to usually be the ones that are going to end up taking care of you or something. Okay, because the other people that are old as you, by the time you get so old that you can't take care of yourself, they don't mean nothing, because they're going to be too busy trying to take care of themselves. Okay, so but that's not what I'm talking about, because to be honest with you, when it comes to generational hexes, if you have a situation like that to where everybody in the family was unfulfilled, nobody did what they truly wanted to do with their life. Nobody. They talked about it. They talked about it for hours and hours and hours, talking about what they gonna do. They didn't do nothing. Oh, we gonna do this and we gonna do that and we gonna do this and we gonna do that. And you probably heard them start talking like that when you was about 5 years old. And by the time that you got to the age of 20, they still ain't did nothing that they was supposed to do. And even if they tried, it would probably get torn down by everybody's behavior. Everybody's behavior. When I first came over here to Georgia, okay, to separate myself from those people that were trying to stop me from fulfilling my destiny, those people tried to stop me. People that were my own blood. They were my own relatives. They didn't want me to do what I wanted to do. They didn't. So what they do is they put a mark on you so that you can stay exactly where you at. Who do you think resides over this type of thinking? Who do you think does that? And you know, a lot of African American people will say, well, it's white people. But I mean, to be honest with you, over the past 4 years, the majority of the people that were working against me were not white. They were all black people, including my own people. To hell with all those people that I wasn't related to, people from your own bloodline trying to stop you from being successful in whatever endeavor that you do. Whatever endeavor that you pursue, those people are trying to stop you. And it's so ignorant because what they will do is they will use all their time, all their money, all of their energy into trying to stop you instead of doing what they want to do. And then, especially if folks done got older, they figure, well, I'm old because, in the black community, when you 35, you just over the hill when you 35. Unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with. And I'm 41. I'll be 42 next month. This is the type of stuff that we are dealing with. If everybody in the family, everybody did this, the whole cycle just repeated over and over again. And see, with my family, everybody was sort of blended together. See, it's supposed to be your parents and the child. And then those are the people that make decisions for the children. But for some reason, everybody is always so codependent on the parents and on the grandparents. And the reason why is because the grandparents want to have some kind of power and control. So these are your elders that are giving you incorrect information about who you are, about who they are, and everything ends up being a struggle. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The struggle is not just coming from a frame of mind. No, it's not. These are demons that took thousands of years to create. Thousands. Okay? And these particular demons do not want people to fulfill their dreams or to fulfill their life. And you got other people who play a part in taking advantage of that. See, those other people will know that your family is stupid. They'll know that your mama was stupid and weak. We got way too many weak parents out here. They weak. Hey, Triple Darkness, they weak. That demon will come to them and say, well, I don't think that your daughter, your son should be doing all of that. So we got to formulate some kind of plan to stop this here. And the next thing you know, and especially now, if you somebody that is just giving into that, then you will probably be happy in life. And then people that have given into that, people that don't know any better, they want to keep you in there. That's why they always say, we messed up, y'all. We all messed up. No, that's you. There are a lot of people that have it on good authority to change that situation around. And see, a lot of times you're not just dealing with the generational curses on the mama side, but you're dealing with the gen curses on the daddy side. Now, with my ex, a huge part of the generational hex that was on him was teenage pregnancy. Right? So then what a lot of people will say, well, if teenage pregnancy is the curse, which it's not, but it happens because it's generational, then we must go and kill the child that the person is impregnated with. And so people think that that's the answer, but then you end up cursing yourself even more. You end up cursing yourself even more because no child comes into this world without any reason. And by the way, I heard about the abortion laws over in New York, and I will talk about that in a separate hangout, but I feel like New York is getting ready to be destroyed. Because, they ain't right. They over there doing abortions all the way up to the 9th month of the pregnancy. And this is a lot of the problems. Okay. So I'll talk about that in a separate hangout. But abortion creates even more bloodline curses on you. Just because you kill something does not mean that it's still not there. But a lot of people don't really think of themselves as anymore but flesh and bone. That's all you are, is a big old slab of flesh. So folks running around here, and it took years and years. It took thousands of years for this entity to corrupt people. Thousands. It took thousands of years because the hope, it's a boomerang. You got a man that's whoremongering, and he done convinced this woman to sleep with him, and then she done got pregnant, and then she done told him she was pregnant. He said, well, I don't want the baby, and I don't want you to get rid of it. And then she goes and she gets rid of it, and then you just start it. You still curse. Your womb is cursed at that point when you do stuff like that. Okay. So the ancestors and the spirits don't co-sign killing babies. They don't co-sign that. And that's what we've got in a lot of families, is that, in order for them to deal with something, they just kill it. We see that on the news a lot. People will see their children going out there getting ready to get killed, and they won't do a damn thing about it. Hey, Kawana, hello. So if you came from a family that was able to break that bloodline curse in the previous generation, then in this generation, it's kind of difficult for you to be an expert on a bloodline curse if your mother or your father broke that curse for you. So you would have no idea how it feels to try your hardest. And I'm talking about the people that are trying. Hey, Anna, welcome. I'm talking about the people that are trying. These are people that are trying to make a difference, not people that just decided, oh, I'm just going to lay down and be a sheep and die and not ever fulfill my life. I'm talking about folks that's trying, people that try hard and hard and hard. And you got your cousins around the corner putting sugar in your tank. You got folks stealing your license plates. You got people calling your job, talking about you should fire this person. We got folks doing that all the time. That's why you can't tell your family where you work. Why would you tell your family members where you work? For what? Remember in those readings that I did about the stalkers, I kept saying over and over again, you do not tell folks where you work unless you got your own business. And you can see that they'll even try to destroy that. Last year, if I did not remove that generational hex off of me, I would not have earned six figures. I wouldn't have. I would have stayed at the same level that I was. And then those people will say, oh, well, money isn't everything. Well, I'm sorry, you kind of need money to survive, don't you? They always conveniently got something to say that don't make no sense. And then as soon as they feel, well, I couldn't do no better, I couldn't earn no money, so then money is evil. So then what do you want people to do? You want people to just sit there and be broke? You want people to just sit there and be homeless? That what you want people to do? So a lot of your elders, that y'all better start listening to what they saying and start listening instead of just being wrapped up in what they look like, because I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these elders ain't worth a damn. They showed it. See, the movies give us a lot of clues to this stuff that's going on up in here. For example, y'all ever see that movie Paranormal Activity? Remember in part 3 where it turned out that the grandmother sold the children to the demon? Now, the movies are going to do stuff that's made for movies. They going to do stuff that's made for movies. You see what I'm saying? So basically what the demon did was the demon was able to kill everybody in the family and kidnap the baby. Okay? But, our ancestors and ascended masters have given us rituals and clues and hints on how to get out of this. They've given us the rituals, they've given us the knowledge, but a lot of people want to turn away from that knowledge. Why? Because they're scared. There's a lot of people that are scared to death to remove those hexes. They're afraid because what it tells you is that it's going to kill you. Well, if you do this, I'm going to kill you. And a lot of you that did not choose to do that to your children, it can't do nothing to you when you didn't do that. See, at any point in your life when you was actually weak enough to sacrifice your children, that's just what it is. Now, nobody's saying that you can't remove and reverse it. I rescind demonic contracts all the time. That's what I do. A hex is a contract, whether or not it's generational or, somebody done decided to do this and do that. And it's all a contract. There's no, demonic entity that can hold you to that contract. It's not. It really isn't. Unless you have, depends on what's in your heart. Some people are just bad people. Some people just can't do shit right. Just telling y'all the truth. Some people just can't do it right. They just can't get it right. They always looking for somebody to take advantage of. They're always looking for somebody to get over on. They're always looking for somebody to sacrifice. And that is one thing that we do not do at Divine Services is human sacrifice. We don't do that. We don't do that here. Even though when I talked about stalkers, those are willing sacrifices. When I talked about that, and they was really angry about that hangout that I did because it's the truth. You willing to die for something that you're ultimately, it is going to destroy you when you're trying to take from somebody else. That is the reality of it. That is this reality that we are living in. And a lot of people that got their money, they got their lives, they know what the deal is. And see, they are the ones that are doing the sacrifices. That's why they'll come and they'll lie to you. And they'll tell you what it is or what it ain't. And they don't know what they're talking about. Or either they do know what they're talking about. They want to fool you is basically what it is. But you guys have seen the way that this works when you are a person that is trying to rise above and make a way for your family and your children. And you got your mama, your daddy, your grandpa, and your grandma trying to stop you. In particular, if you a woman. When it comes to men, I don't accept no excuses from men because men all over the globe are allowed to do whatever they want to do. So when you see somebody trying to put a woman at a disadvantage, this is a disgusting individual that must be stopped because women have been the ones that have been held back and did wrong and stomped on from the beginning. So this is why most of my clients are women. And most of my clients that are women, they want to be able to support their damn families. But you got, your grandma, Fannie Mae or whoever the hell she is, and she just like, now go on down there, honey, and go on down there and get you some of them welfare benefits and then just sit on down and just don't do nothing. And that ain't the right way to go. That's called failure. Okay. Now I understand if you got to get on that stuff for a little while, but there's generations of people that are on welfare, food stamps, all of that stuff. And they want the failure to continue because there's a lot of people that feel bad about themselves. They're suicidal. I don't care about myself for whatever reason. For whatever reason. It's not about understanding the reason. It's not even about the reason because a lot of people will ask why. Hell, they don't even really need no reason why. But there usually is a reason. And when you've convinced people, if you can convince a woman to murder her child, what does that tell you about that woman? She feels bad about herself. And then see, this is where the Bible comes in. To where 110% of us were born with spiritual gifts, and they told you to kill witches, even the men. So then that means everybody got to die then. Somebody that's telling fortunes, and somebody telling a fortune can be, hey man, I can see you running and jumping back and forth between that train that's coming, and I can see you getting hit. You might want to stop doing that. And you was considered to be a witch because you said, I can see you dying in a train wreck from you jumping in and out of in front of cars. What you doing jumping in and out in front of cars? So you was considered to be a witch if you could tell somebody that their behavior was going to lead to this, this, and that. So anybody that had any kind of intelligence or a brain was to be murdered. And this is what is residing over your bloodlines. And this is the reason why your parents is setting you up for failure. That's the reason why. And when I did that narcissistic show about the narcissistic parents, it was all kind of folks there. This is the same difference. These are your elders. And they got all kind of excuses. They didn't like you when you was a chef. They didn't like you when you was a nurse. They didn't like you when you worked at the grocery store. They didn't like you when you worked at the IRA. They didn't like none of that. They didn't. They didn't like any of it. And you would think to yourself, well, why is it that this person that's supposed to be looking out for me consistently tries to destroy everything that I have and everything that I try to build? Why are they doing that? Because you under a bloodline curse, because it's a demon. They're not thinking. And then what they'll do, oh my God, y'all, they'll go and they'll get on these cholesterol medications, and your brain needs cholesterol to function. Hold on, let me jump off camera. Your brain needs cholesterol to function. And your heart is bad because of your bad intent. So a lot of people will say, well, my heart is bad because I ate too much fat. People always make excuses. They say it's your diet. They say it's the fact that you didn't exercise enough. But in reality, people's heart is bad because of their bad intent for other people. The evil that's inside of them, the demonic entities that reside and rest in every single chakra in their body, especially the heart chakra. You know how many people I know that didn't have heart problems? My great grandma Miniola, they told her that she had an enlarged heart. She never took the medication and she lived into her late 80s. She never took those medications. So I don't really talk about this too much publicly anymore. The health system, we're going to leave that at that. Big Pharma, we're going to leave Big Pharma the hell alone. We're not going to talk about Big Pharma. Because the only time I talk about that is when we are in private in a reading. So I don't even talk about Big Pharma publicly anymore. That's a very, very dangerous thing to talk about and to discuss. If you're going around heartlessly taking from people, heartlessly degrading people, doing things to people, then your heart is going to turn bad. If you out there just heartless, the energy and the vibrations that you put inside of your body that you do to other people is going to ultimately affect you. So your actions is what leads to a lot of those problems, unless you was born with one of your chambers of your heart missing. And you got folks that will say, well, I got this bloodline curse on my family and I'm just going to transfer it over to Jamila. It's funny when they do that. But that demon ain't after my bloodline. That demon is after your bloodline. Not mine. That's your demon. That demon is very, very personal to you. So I've actually had people say that, oh, I'm going to send you my health problems. Well, I think I probably weigh about, 180? Okay? So I shouldn't have health problems of a 300 or 400-pound woman. And I ain't going to never have no health problems of a 300 or 400-pound woman. But there's a lot of people that are, they think they done figured it out. But the problem is that they're being manipulated and controlled by something else that is stupid. And unfortunately, when you got somebody that's dumber than you trying to teach you something, then you're not going to be able to learn nothing. Right now, we got preachers and priestesses in the church that have no idea how to exorcise a demon. They don't know. They don't know how to get rid of it. All they know how to do is pass it and try to share it with somebody else. Oh, well, I'm going to send this to you and you go ahead and just banish it and you get rid of it since you know how to do it. No, that ain't how it works. You either going to have to listen to your ancestors and your spirit guides so you can figure it out. So that's why it's going to always come back to you, no matter what. So if I do a hex remover from you, and in particular, if I do a generational hex, where does the hex go when I do a generational hex remover? What it does is it goes back to the principal, which is the person that allowed it to be passed to you in the first place, which is more than likely your elder. That's who it goes back to. It has to, because they didn't make the correct decision spiritually, even though they probably didn't know. Well, you know what? You know how you can commit a crime and you didn't know it was a crime and you end up going to jail for it. And you like, well, I didn't know this was a crime. Well, so you still got to pay this debt. So a lot of people that pass this stuff to their children, knowingly or unknowingly, that sat back and did nothing ever, they suffering right now because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And then when you had the knowledge, especially if you were lucky enough to have a child or somebody else that had knowledge of it, if they had knowledge and then you kept trying to, put that generational hex out on them and you just kept turning over your bloodline to that demon, you know what? It ain't like, we like cats. We got 9 lives. People have choice after choice after choice after choice. And unlike what the Bible says, to where you must suffer for what your father did, that's actually not true. The universe don't see it that way. You are a separate entity than your parent. So this is where the narcissism comes in. This is where your parent says, well, my business failed. I failed at everything. I'm not doing what I want to do. So why should you do what you want to do? Now you tell me if that's not demonic. Now, of course, if you're dealing with a generational hex, it will make it more difficult for you to give your kids what they need and what they want. And it'll make things a little bit harder on your children. But these elders, they don't care. They calling all up to the schools. They want to make sure that you fail. And when you're dealing with somebody like that, you're not dealing with somebody that's in their right mind. So a lot of these practitioners need to quit taking the money for stuff like that. There's somebody, like I told y'all, ain't nobody going to be able to call me and say, well, I need you to do some work on my daughter because, I I got this thing that's on me and she's my sacrifice. I will never, ever do it. Ain't nobody ever asked me for that. My spirits would never bring me somebody with that type of intent. You'll probably get cussed out and hung up on. Okay? The elders want the curse to remain because they are not in their right minds. That's why they want the curse to remain. They want it to stay on you. Stay on her. Stay on her. Stay on her. Why? For what? What's the point? What's the point in staying on it? What's your point? Well, and for me, it was, well, you evil and you doing that witchcraft and you shouldn't be doing that. Well, so did Jesus. So now what's your excuse? And a lot of them will take a look at you, a lot of these older people, and they'll take a look at you and they'll say, who this little bee thinks she is? I went through it, so you gonna have to go through it. That's exactly how they thinking in their mind, is that, well, it was good enough for me. You feel like this ain't good enough for you? So sometimes family traditions have to be broken. Sometimes a bloodline curse can be a family tradition. Well, all the women in the family failed and ended up, going through this, and everybody ended up with cancer of the uterus, and everybody ended up with heart disease, and everybody ended up with cancer, and everybody led a hard life. I worked hard. Why can't you work hard? I worked for the system. I worked as a main thing that we got is a lot of these jobs ain't really paying what they supposed to be paying, especially for poor people that are making not a lot of money. They ain't paying enough money for people to survive. And so more than likely, a lot of these elders, if they struggle, they feel like you need to struggle too, because that's all there is the struggle. That's all they know is the struggle. I struggle. Why don't you struggle? And some of y'all parents don't want you to even achieve the little bit that they did. Some of them they don't want you to have nothing or do nothing. They want you to just be codependent on them. That's why you got your parents out there saying, just come live with me. What? Just come live with you? I don't even get along with you. Why would I come live with you? Why would I do that? And I've talked to more than one person. Guys, this is what I deal with all the time when it comes to my clients. Either I have women that come to me when it's their parents, or either it's their man's parents. Because, when you got a mother or a father or both parents that are very codependent on a child as an adult, and that child is considered to be a slave for that adult for whatever it is. It could be as simple as that parent not having the ability to drive, and the parent needs for the kid to drive them wherever they got to go. If they got a husband or a wife and some kids, then that's going to cut into their codependency. That's going to cut into what they need. So that's why we got Uber and Lyft. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to do it. They rather destroy your whole life for a freaking ride. And as they getting out the car, they saying, thanks for the ride, lady. It's ridiculous. Well, I need you to take me to the grocery store once a week, so you can't live in another state because I need for you to take me for a ride. Are you kidding me? So your whole life is supposed to be surrounding around this elder that could not do for themselves and refuses to do for themselves. And now they done got so old that they really ain't gonna do nothing for themselves. I was supposed to live and die in Kansas City, Missouri, just so that my mama could have a damn ride to the grocery store. Just so she could have a ride to the grocery store. Does that make sense to anybody? That your whole life is supposed to be conducted strictly on that. So if you had parents that were had some sort of debilitation, then that was a part of the bloodline curses. See, your bloodline curses, it don't necessarily, because everybody always want to talk about the grandparents. Everybody, no, I'm talking about you, your mother, and your father. That's what I'm talking about. That's where the bloodline is, because your parents came together to produce you, which produces a totally different strand of human being. When your parents came together to have you, there was new blood, right? Even though it's a mixture of both bloodlines with your mama, your daddy, and it was a mixture, but it was still considered to be new blood, fresh blood. So some of y'all parents just had you specifically so that you could be a freaking sacrifice. And that really pisses me off, because guess what? It could have been different, couldn't it? If they just made a different choice, if they just thought for 5 minutes and realized that what they were doing was wrong and that they shouldn't have been doing it, then it would have made the difference in a lot of y'all's lives. But instead they said, no, well, we're going to keep this on here, and so that's why a lot of your parents want to keep you real close. But at the same time, they doing stuff just so that you can stay close. Just so you can stay close to them. You know how they say keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. Your parents see you as an enemy, especially if you got some weak-minded parent that sits there, fails at life, and then blames you for all of her failures. You know you done fell off when you blaming your kids for your failures in life. Girl, bye. You supposed to be the parent. So we got a lot of weak-minded parents out there, and this is the reason why a lot of y'all suffer today because of this, because your parent was weak-minded. And at some point they decided, especially if your father didn't come back to them, that's a whole other story. When you have the mother that is angry at the children because of their father, that's a sickness, that's stupidity, that's ignorance. Who would do that? Is it your fault that your mama chose your daddy? Possibly. It's a possibility. But then why couldn't that parent decipher how to carry that family forward and live? Why did they choose death and destruction? Because they gave up. A lot of y'all parents give up. They give up. They say, and then I guess you just supposed to give up on your life too. They've been telling me since I was 30 years old that I was just an old lady. Oh, you just an old lady. It's time for you to just give up on life and just sit down. Hold on, wait a minute. I ain't even bought my first house yet. No, you're just supposed to sit there and just not ever do that. Just sit there and never, ever do that. And they work hard. And this is sad when you see an elder that will work harder at trying to destroy you than to bless you. So a lot of people generationally will do that, and it's a cycle that unfortunately keeps repeating. Hold on a minute, child. Hello? Oh. That's gonna take, hold on, from all right, y'all. Sorry about that. Give me a second. So, when it comes to bloodline curses, the change is gonna come from you, and you got to be educated enough to know what's going on, and you got to stop judging people based upon what they say and what their actual intent is, especially when it comes to a parent, because a parent can really hurt you a lot. Your elders can really hurt you a lot. They really can, because they keep passing down this generational ignorance. Okay, they keep passing down this generational ignorance over and over again until you have nowhere to go. And you know what's so sad about it? What is the difference between committing suicide and somebody that goes out there and lives the life that is going to end them in death anyway? There is no difference between the two, because a lot of people just give up. They say, "Oh, I'm just going to give up on it. I can't do no better. My family didn't do no better." But you got to stand on your own. And you know what? There's a lot of people that came from just where you came from, to where every single time you try to do something with your life, they try to stop you. And then you start to realize, well, hell, I'm not your child. I'm just your sacrifice. And that's exactly what you are. That's one of the reasons why the elders want to keep the curse in place. Some of your elders are suicidal. I want to kill off my bloodline. What I produced wasn't right. And they get that crap from that Bible. So then you got innocent people being ripped apart and ripped to shreds every single day. Their ideas being ripped to shreds every day. Their self-esteem being ripped to shreds every day. And it's so sad, because until that parental figure dies, they're going to keep passing that generational ignorance to you, to the point where you'll be on the right track. You'll go 10 steps forwards and they'll pull you 6 steps back. And so then you've got to recover from that. You've got to recover from that, and then go and try to get back and catch up. And a lot of y'all that had elders like that, you are very far behind in life. But that's okay, because at some point you can make that difference in your life. But you're going to have to do it spiritually, because I'm going to tell you something. And then also, when you tell your family your plans and stuff, when you say, I got plans to do this and I got plans to do that, then they're going to try to stop you. It's just the reality of it. And they don't care. You think they care about what your spirit wants? No, they don't. So you've got to be able to function without your parents. At some point, you're going to have to function without them. Okay, that's just the way that it is. You're going to have to function. You're going to have to learn to separate yourself from that bloodline illness. Okay, and a lot of times it's a real demon. This ain't no joke. You can't, because I've seen so many people, especially women. It affects women the worst. It does. It affects the women the worst. And what they'll do is they'll work really, really hard to move every man away from you. And they'll put these bad men in your life. so that they can continue that on, because it's all about the end game for them. The reason why they want those curses to stay in place is because you're their sacrifice. That's all you've ever been. And, you know, getting that abortion just wasn't enough. They said, I got to have a fully grown sacrifice. So a lot of y'all are fully grown sacrifices. And we hear about children being sacrificed in the news all the time. We hear about children being sacrificed. When you hear these little babies that end up, being killed and stuff, this is a sacrifice. A lot of those people ain't in their right mind. A majority of people cannot get it. They just don't get it. That's why they'll be sitting there all bug-eyed and stuff, eyes be bulging out of their head. And they can't think straight. They can't think for themselves, because if they were able to think for themselves, why would you purposely try to harm your kids then? Why would you purposely try to ruin your child's life? And I'm not talking about the prison education system. I'm not talking about that. I'm certainly not talking about that, because that's just another program to program you to be a sacrifice, is really all that it is. It's a lot of pressure to fit in with a bunch of people that don't have no damn sense. My youngest son has not been in any schoolhouse one day in his life, and he knows how to read, write, draw, and count. What does that tell you? He learned it all on his own, damn near too. He ain't doing trigonometry, but that's the reason why they started to upgrade that, because, and I'm not going to get on that either, because everybody has a difference in opinion when it comes to that. And I'm not going to get on that, because there's a lot of you that want to go to college. There's a lot of you that want lucrative careers. So having your education is very important. And I get that. But why is it that some people, they parents won't even buy them a $5 pair of jeans to go to school? You can go to Walmart and buy a $5 pair of jeans. You can go to Walmart and get a $5 school uniform. What's the problem? If that's the way you see fit to get your education, okay, fine. But it's some people, they don't even do that. And a high school diploma ain't going to get you much. That ain't going to get you far. It's not. So there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, this child didn't go to college. But that's because the parents couldn't even afford to send the child to college. Come on now. Where was they going to get the money to go to school? The sky? I guess so. I guess out of the sky. And then a lot of these people are so ignorant that somebody got to die for somebody to get somewhere. And then that's even ridiculous. So they want you to be ignorant. They keep you distracted with certain things so that you're not seeing what's going on, especially when you have a parent that encourages failure on all levels. What's the problem? Well, when you take a look at your mama or your daddy, they broken inside. That's why they made that movie Precious. Y'all remember Monique, how broken her character was inside? I mean, this woman was just broken. Very demonic, very violent. And then you've got sexual violence. You've got sexual abuse that are in these families. That is all a part of the whole thing, that is a part of that bloodline curse, because it's all about conditioning. So that's the reason why your parents were violent towards you, because they had to condition you. I don't choose to spank my child. I never was a parent that did a lot of spanking anyway. I wasn't, and I don't do it now. Even the older that I get. So a lot of people have impressions about certain things, and your mind is everything. Everything comes from your mind. And what is your mindset? Well, if your mind tells you certain things, then that's the result that you're going to get. And bloodline curses, they don't just go away. They don't. You can tell because as soon as you get up to do something, they trying to stop you. As soon as you get up and do, as soon as they can see you doing something, especially, let me tell y'all something. YouTube is the mecca of young folks, old folks making hella money by really they're basically not doing nothing. You know how many people on this on here got gamer channels and they making thousands of dollars per month off of a gaming channel? You think your parents respect that? I had to work hard in a factory for 30 years and I broke my back working at a factory, and how dare this child think they can do better than me? So then they'll tear that down and destroy it. That's the reality of it. Hell, I worked for over 20 years, and if I can just give my kids everything that they want in life, I don't have no problem with it. So the buck stops here over here. So I don't play that when it comes to my children. And now I ain't sacrificing none of my children. You ain't gonna catch me on the news hollering and screaming, talking about, I forgive you for what you did. You killed my child. No, if I was standing in the courtroom, I'd tell that person, I'd say, hey, look, you lucky that they sent you to jail, because if it were up to me, you wouldn't even be here to even be standing trial. So I'm not that type of parent. And they do all sorts of things, they do all kind of stuff. They doing the most, ain't they? And having your own business, that ain't no easy way out. You think, and especially if you a spiritualist, my job is not easy. Just within itself, the work that I have to do for people is not easy. And it's messed up when I had to deal with my own family members harassing me for 4 years. And I just set fire to it, is what I do. I set fire to it. I don't play that. Because I'm going to get what I want, regardless to what somebody tells me. So a lot of people are very easily discouraged. They are. And when you take these personality tests and they'll ask you things like, are you easily discouraged? Definitely not. But some people are, because a bloodline curse can affect you in so many different ways, especially if you don't know how to communicate. The reason why you don't have the communication skills is probably because somebody might have been trying to cover something up. It's a possibility. Just depends on the parent. So I got a lot of people that come to me and they have like throat chakra problems, third eye problems, and that's because they wanted you to be dizzy and stupid. And one of the big things is this disability. You ever see them parents that, get disability or whatever, and as soon as the child starts to show some kind of improvement, they doing something to make the child disabled some more so that they can continue their money flow. So a lot of people were actually paid to take out your intelligence and take out your mind and take out your body and your heart. And they didn't care because guess what? The Bible said that everything that you do creatively is evil. Music is evil. Dancing, evil. Love, evil. Healing people, evil. All of it was evil. Anything that we could do as a society in the Bible, it's evil. And a lot of our parents grew up reading that stuff, and those are spells that are over your mind. And these things have nothing to do, because I know a lot of y'all are comforted by Jesus. Y'all get healed by Jesus. I get that. But it's the actual words that are being spoken. In fact, there's some witches that will speak curses over people that come from the Bible. And I don't do that. I did that a few years ago and I broke my toe. I don't do it no more. I would never use any kind of spell out of the Bible ever again because it's all a curse. The people that came up out of that, they understand why. They separated themselves from that ignorance and they said, I'm going to make a difference for my family. And they did it. And the spirits are backing you up every single day. If that was the case, I would have nothing. I wouldn't have the things that I have, which I don't have everything that I want right now. I really honestly don't. So I'm not telling y'all that. But eventually I'll be speaking to y'all from a place where I do want. And I still won't have any problem with helping people because I want people to get what they want. That's all I feel every single day is unfulfilled people. I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I want. Well, the universe is very vast. And then you'll have people that say, well, it ain't enough. There's people that'll say, well, I'm not going to go into this field because this field is highly competitive. And there's too many people going into this field. So I'm not going to go into this field. And so people, it's almost like you accept defeat before you even try. And that was another thing that they did to you. So that you could end up being some kind of factory worker or something, which is nothing wrong with working at a factory if that's what you want to do. Some people enjoy working at factories. But in the future, y'all know it's going to be robots working them same factory machines and you're going to be out of a job. And they're going to say, well, you know, we're going to replace everybody with robots. And then what you going to do? And you ever hear about people that lose their job and then commit suicide? You ever hear about people doing that? They lose their job and get laid off and they kill themselves and they kill the rest of the family because they didn't know any better. They didn't know what to do with themselves. They had no idea. I got a guy on here right now talks crazy about me, but he don't realize that I remember when he said he was going to take all of his kids out. I remember when he said I'll take all them kids out. Because they all have that ignorant mentality. It's ignorance is what it is. Okay. And sometimes it can get that bad. Because not only do people have bloodline curses on them, they also got bad luck. Some people just got bad luck altogether. And you wonder where all this bad luck comes from. And it can come from different sources. So it depends on what's going on in your life. It really does. It depends on what exactly was going on. There's some people that have bloodline curses on them that leads them to, you know, have to go down a path of celibacy and aloneness for the rest of their life. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay. So, guys, and you know, there's a lot of people, they'll say what they're going to do. They say they're going to do it, but then they never do it. And why didn't you do it? Because there's entities and there's spirits that are set in place to stop you. And those things exist in your mind. So you have to have somebody that is a real high priestess that knows how to get those entities off of you. Now, like I said, this is why I'm talking about this, because the elders will put it back on you. And that's because they suicidal. A lot of people are just suicidal. A lot of people are obsessed with death. But in reality, death really does not exist. It really doesn't. You just end up coming back over and over and over again. And usually you come back through one of your children, is what I figured out about reincarnation, is that people end up coming back. And it doesn't mean that you come back when you've done something bad. You know, they've made this, you know, they've made this world look so bad that a lot of people feel like the world is bad, but the world is not necessarily bad. It's just the world has bad people in it. Okay? So that's why a lot of people give up and they say, well, you know, I'm not even going to try because everybody messed up. And it's sad when a lot of people, it's sad when there's people that they relate everything to just this one group of people that they know on their block, or just these people that they met in their family. And what they'll tell you is they'll say, well, you think you just too good for us. No, it's not that I think I'm too good. That has nothing to do with it. And see, that's gaslighting. That's just a form of gaslighting to make you feel guilty because you have set goals for yourself, whether or not you've got love, relationship goals, or either financial goals. So whenever somebody tells you, well, you act like you too good for us. Why you acting like you too good for us? Nobody said that I was too good for you. You said I was too good for you. Okay, so when it comes to bloodline curses, they are a reality for a lot of people. Just knowing that you have one and, you know, praying or saying, well, I'm going to do better. That's not necessarily going to do it, because this is a curse that has been put on you. This is a restriction that has been put on you. This is not just something that somebody said. This is something that actually wants you to be its sacrifice. Okay. This is why a lot of people end up where they end up, because you're the sacrifice for whatever this is. And a lot of people will say that it's the devil. I don't necessarily believe in the devil. I think that the devil is one big conglomerate of evil. I think that just like I feel like God, I think of God as more of an energy. And then I'm also a polytheist, so I don't believe in there just being one God. I'll never believe in that. But there is one source of God, and I think that there's one source of evil. And I think that evil has been fed over and over and over again. And even when I do readings on your deceased relatives, I can see it. They suffering in the afterlife. Okay? They suffer in the afterlife is what they do, until you do whatever you got to do. Because that's real sad when you got to look down upon your family and you got to really see how much suffering is happening within that family. And you're going to have to see it because it's your responsibility, especially if you're a woman. If you're a woman, you're going to have to be the savior, because most of these men are wrapped up in religion and ignorance. And it feels good to them to have that level of ignorance. Okay, now if you got a man that's different, then that's fine. But there's a lot of them that are wrapped up in that ignorance. And this is the reason why the entity first attacked the mind of men, because when they were able to attack the mind of men, then that left women and children without any real protection. So that's the reason why they did that. This is the reason why they held men up as the principle, even in the Bible. And they told women to shut up, because the women were like, wait a minute. And many women died. You know how many witches died and women died for what they believed in, so that you could have it better, so that you wouldn't be wrapped up in that crap, so that you could have more and just live your life. Well, what's wrong with us going out into the garden and and listening to the waterfall. You know, why we got to go outside our backyard and hear gunshots and all that stuff. Why is that? Why didn't your parents want better for you? What is the problem? And you know, there's a Chinese proverb that says that whatever the parents want for you, that's what you gonna get. And a lot of y'all parents wanted you to have nothing. They didn't want you to have nothing. They didn't want you to have nothing to be proud of. They didn't want you to have nothing of yourself. And they told a lot of y'all, because a lot of y'all that came from this environment were people with spiritual gifts. So a lot of people will say, well, how everybody, you know, so nobody's saying that because you have a spiritual gift that everybody has to do the same thing that I do. But I would hope that I would be encouraging people that do have certain spiritual gifts about themselves to start developing those spiritual powers, because that is when nobody is holding any of us back. And then we can just imagine our reality and then it's there. But you got so many people that are so low vibrational that they can't, you know, all of us imagined ourselves into existence. You know, it was our brain first. That's why when you are a baby in your mama's womb, your brain develops first before anything else, the brain, even before your heart develops. But the heart and the brain are developing at the same time. This is why you can pick up the baby's heartbeat as early as 5 weeks, 4 weeks, actually. Baby's heart already beating by the time you done missed your period. That's the reason. Okay. Locked in the trunk of a car. That's a funny name. So, you know, it's just the reality. You said call your phone. Here, take the phone and you call it. I'm going to wrap this up, you guys, because I'm ready to relax. You guys know where to reach me if you guys are under a generational hex. Do not listen to other people that give you misinformation about that. You're just wasting your time with those people. They selling you a fantasy and a dream that ain't gonna never come. Because in reality, if none of the women in your family got married and all the women are single, every last woman in your family is single. Why is that? Why is it that every woman in your family is single? Where'd that come from? Thank you, Joyce. Why is that? Why is it that every single person, every single woman in your family is single? How'd that happen? Because of some higher calling? No, it ain't no higher calling, because guess what? A lot of those women that, you know, it causes imbalances. And I know that for me, I've got to have sex every day. It was meant for you to have sex with your husband every day. It wasn't meant for you to go months and months and weeks without having sexual intercourse. So that within itself was killing you and you didn't even realize it. That's why a lot of women's bodies are off balance. And then also you got a lot of single women up in that church and they all saying that Jesus is their husband. Jesus ain't claimed you as his husband, as your husband, though. He ain't claiming you. He telling you to get it together. So we've got both of that going on both sides. And then we've got these certain groups. I think that MGTOW was a lot harsher than feminism, because MGTOW was like when they convinced men to go all off somewhere and to abandon the women, then that was a serious problem, a serious issue. Okay. So that's why there's a lot of women, they got to put love spells on these men. They got to lock them down and do all kind of stuff to them, because a lot of men, you think that men were programmed to have a wife. It's funny how they always say that, but there's a lower percentage of people that are actually even getting together. So everybody kind of stuck in their homes and nobody's getting together at all. Nobody, because of fear, because somebody told you, well, this person is this and this person is that. Soon as you hook up with somebody, why is it that every time you hook up with somebody, everybody in your family trying to break y'all up? because everybody wants to continue that bloodline curse. And then also there's demons and entities um, that have sexual intercourse with you, and they feed off of your sexual energy. Okay. And so if a demon wants to feed off of your sexual energy, what makes you think that that demon wants you to have a husband? A man is supposed to feed off of a woman, and a woman is supposed to feed off of a man. It's an even exchange of energy. But when you got some kind of third party entity that's literally sucking you dry, literally, and this is why the reason why a lot of women, they start aging very quickly. Thank you, Eternally Rising. Thank you. So anyway, I'll see y'all later. Peace and love to all of you guys. If you want to learn more about the generational curse that's over your family, I'm always here to do readings as well as consultations. It's not cheap, as I was talking about earlier, but when you think about it, let's say that you're somebody that only makes 20 or 30 grand per year because you've got a glass ceiling, you've got a limit. And let's say you're like, okay, well, I want to make 100 or 200,000 per year. And you come and pay 1,500 or either 750, because that's how much I charge for the follow-up ritual for that. Then it's worth it. Then your investment is worth it. Hell, you might even be able to write it off on your taxes. Okay? So I'll see y'all later. Keep the hope alive, but not just hope. Be smart about the situation. And, stop being distracted by a bunch of people that, or just giving you some kind of fantasy that ain't gonna never happen. Okay? I'll see y'all later. Okay? Like I said, I hope I didn't scare nobody because I don't have no makeup on. My forehead shining and stuff. So anyway, love and light. Bye-bye.